Hey, how's it going this wonderful Saturday? Start with
It
a bit
is
of good
going
news.
fantastic.
Fantastic. I like this. I like this. Good news for and it's gonna be good news for Rage and Pseudo as well. It's a Saturday in Vancouver, and it's sunny. How
Right.
often does that happen, huh?
Not often enough.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Alright, somebody was asking for the Twitch info. Oh yeah, I guess I have the hockey. Oops!
And the chats and all the other
All
stuff.
kinds of crazy stuff. There's my checklist that I go through every time I fire up my stream. I actually made a little text file with all of my to-dos, and then I created a macro program button. Close. That's why. Created a macro program button in order to pull it up so that when I hit start and it opens all the applications I need, including my start music and everything, it also opens up my checklist. That worked kind of great.
Well, how convenient.
Yeah, it's almost like I work with systems or something.
Something like that.
How about
And
you
it
guys?
seems fairly reasonable.
Doing pretty good. Enjoying this sunlight.
Hey, you getting some of that? Any good news to share other than get sun too?
Not too much. Just enjoying the week.
Excellent. Right, let's get document up.
Hey, Calligator.
Hey, Cal, how you
Just
doing? Welcome to stream. I am just pulling up E drive.
Because we are the most prepared people.
Oh yeah. I saw thousands of viewers just waiting. I was like, wow, I better get everything ready ahead of time. Doing great. Awesome to hear. This is not the right user. There we go. The panel. Where'd my... Oh. No. Oh. Where'd it go? Right here. There we go.
You know what we could do is I could just like grab you this shareable link that I'm about to put in this bot.
Yeah. You could have done that too, but you didn't. All right. So we have a general idea of where we want this combat to go by this point. And if chat has questions and people are joining relatively new to this process, ask away. We're happy to go through it. Going over it again helps you refine. Here we go. The final model. Ferocity, agility, constitution, endurance. Reading it again, constitution and endurance sounds funny.
It does seem kind of funny, but we do need a representation of like ability to run and also how much health you got.
Maybe a better term for constitution? Vitality?
Vitality's pretty good. I like vitality.
I think vitality is more key in telling. An instinct and intelligence we do want. We just haven't exactly figured out how they're going to work yet. But they're such different things. And they're so key.
Coming back to it again, I'm kind of like, do we need instinct? Because, I mean, last time we were kind of hemming and hawing on how we wanted to do instinct and whether it was going to be like a level indicator or how strong you were in that particular animal. I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe we should think about the actual process of playing through and leveling. And so I've got, I'm gaining my DNA and RNA, and I'm spending it to increase my stats and improve. And do we need instinct? I don't think we need instinct. I think it plays fine without it.
Because like, what would it represent? I guess. Like it would be kind of neat to have abilities that scale off of it, because scaling abilities are neat. But like, I don't know.
That was basically the only thing we were using it for, is scaling things. And really, those abilities are all going to scale off of instinct, because most of the attack stuff is all instinctual, especially in the animal kingdom. And they're also going to scale off of ferocity and or agility and or intelligence. Seems kind of overkill, and just kind of a, hey, let's throw in an extra number to scale things and make more work for us to do.
Also, because 6 stats just feels good.
Does. Pseudo? Thoughts on instinct?
Yeah, I didn't really ever see it as much of an actual like skill point kind of thing, but it'd be fine to kind of just drop that to keep things simple.
We can definitely drop the term in places. Maybe think of something, but yeah, let's take it out of the final model for the stat points.
Oh no, we have reality bleeding in. I will be right back.
Uh-oh. Reality bleed. Bleed, reality. Bleed! Okay. So what we really need to address is 2 types of combat. Oh, I had some ideas in the bath after the last session on that. As my ideas always come to me. In the bath. The best place to do your thinking, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's any sort of relaxation, and next thing you know, it just pops up in your head, and you're like, "Oh, I gotta write this down."
Yep. Yeah, I cannot count the amount of times I've jumped naked from a bath, running to find something to like, oh, must record information, had this thought. Fortunately, I didn't do that with this one, but it also related to sort of wanting to have different areas and not wanting to opt in and out. And essentially, what if you have like, I think we talked about it at that time actually, the grazing land, and then the feeding pool, which is like a higher end grazing land, and then a mating grounds. And the mating grounds would be like the PvP area. That would be where you have a fight with another person for space, try to control territory, stuff like that.
I like the idea, but it feels very much like a V2 sort of thing.
Yeah, I think just having the 2 areas might be fine.
Well,
To keep things simple for me.
you wanted a way to have like a duel and a versus combat and stuff like that. Well, I was thinking of ways to implement that, and not everyone's going to want to do it, not everyone's going to want to compete in it, but if you wanted to be able to just verse anyone, and even if you're a herbivore, try to flex your might and take some space, that was how it made sense to me. Was as a mating grounds competition for space, see who's the strongest, not to the death, because they don't usually fight to the death. They're really just competing for space and dominance.
I like the idea, but I don't know if we support space yet too much. I'm sure there's like,
Well, we already have to
initial
support
limitation.
having spaces, like different locations, because we had the toggle system PvP on, PvP off, right? Where if you're a herbivore and you go, "Howdy, Raven. Welcome to stream. How's your Saturday
If you're a
doing?"
herbivore and you greet Raven,
If you're a herbivore and you howdy, Raven. Yeah. Well, ravens aren't herbivores, so the herbivore would get effed by the raven. Unless it's a really big herbivore.
in
Then it
which
wouldn't
case
care.
the Raven would be like, I ain't dealing with any of this shit.
Now the raven would probably just land on its back and be like, "Whoa, you're a walking mountain." As birds do.
Yep.
So yeah, we already have the idea of, toggling PvP on and off, and we had talked about it as being like, a safety grazing area sort of undercover where they can still get nutrient but not as much, and then a higher risk area where you run the risk of being eaten by predators and getting timed out of that area. We also talked about the alternate combat system, or at least wanting to have it. That was how I envisioned including it, was having a separate area where you could actually have a reason to be in competition with others of your species type and or Try to flex your might on other species if you really want to.
I see where you're going with it, and for now, disagree.
Okay.
I think this is something that could be really cool once we have like a concept of dungeons and land and space, but I also want this to release at some point.
Yep. Okay, then let's cut it off at the point of saying combat for herbivores is all about escape, and combat for carnivores is all about defeat, catching, attack. And just
Yeah.
leave this current distinction where there will be no situation under current rules where a herbivore would be flexing and fighting, and we can introduce those rules and create a type of combat for that at that time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's a good idea, and it prevents a lot of scope creep.
It really does. It really does. It keeps things nice and simple, and it lets us run with our original idea of the bits would show the animals at the bottom running away from each other, and how quick they're moving is based on how quickly the turns are passing.
So I did have an idea about that. When you are prompted to enter combat, because I figure probably don't want to be starting combat on people if they're not there. When you are prompted to enter combat, then you are given the opportunity to spend your bits to get it to show up on the stream, or spend your talking points to get it to show up in chat, and you'll just get like a text log of what happened in chat for some large amount of talking points, because you don't want to spam chat too much.
Yep.
But I feel like that would leave users with an opportunity to be like, oh, I'm up against this guy? Nah.
But the aggressor should also have the opportunity to pay the points. I see what you're saying. You say you want to hunt. It tells you what you've come across.
And then
How
you
does
have
it?
a prompt to either enter combat or not.
Yeah, and then a decision on if you want to make it visible or not.
Yeah.
Should the herbivore also get a prompt that they're being hunted and decide if they want to make it public or not?
I think only if they should definitely have the ability to make it public if they want to.
I absolutely agree they should have the ability. They shouldn't be limited in their options that way.
Okay, so here's a thought. Just popped into my head. I don't know if it's a good one or not. What if the herbivore's stats dictate whether or not it can choose to engage in that combat?
What if it's not a stat, but more of a ability of certain herbivores and or a tag?
That feels like just an EXP sync in that case.
So you're talking outclassing to a certain degree, be able to choose not to.
Yeah, like if your speed is some percentage higher than the predators, and you're gonna just add, you're gonna take the turns down so low that you're not actually gonna be able to have a cool combat out of it, then at that point it would go, hey, do you want to just skip this? You can just leave.
I mean, I think they're just guaranteed escape anyway at that point, and I don't think I think it would be a useless mechanic, because might as well just let them try to hunt them, and it would be like the time I watched my cat try to catch a hummingbird. And let me tell you, it was fucking hilarious.
That's true. So then do we say,
hey, King Alpha, how you doing today? How's your Saturday?
Hey, King Alpha, how's it going? And Board.
Hey, Board, you woke up in time.
How you been?
I thought you were going to sleep right through it. Board hit me earlier. He was like, hey, man, I got to take a nap. I was up all night playing Baldur's Gate. That's a good game. I understand.
That is a fair excuse.
Yep, totally.
Totally justifiable. So then do we want herbivores or like non-hunting animals to be able to dictate whether or not they get in combat at all, other than PvP on off.
I don't think so. I don't think they really get a whole lot of say in what tries to eat them.
Should it maybe be
What-
like
how
a
about-
roll based off the stats, so that like a very slow predator has a lower chance of actually triggering the combat with a very fast herbivore?
Yeah, we can definitely. Let's think about that after this.
I like that
thought
as
that I'm
as
about
a
to
part of
say.
matchmaking, for sure.
Yeah. Instead of giving them the option to not be hunted when they'll obviously outclass them, what if we just reward them for escaping a hunt?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's always a reason to do the hunt then.
Yeah. And it makes sense. They've won. They should get a reward. You know, it's like
will
Earthbound when you
be-
hit those battles and they just go, green flash, free experience.
So like let's play through this scenario.
Sure.
You've got Predator
Yep.
who enters the PvP zone. You've got Herbivore that enters the PvP zone.
Has
Or Prey
has been in
that
the,
enters the PvP.
has been in the PvP.
They both enter the matchmaking queue automatically by entering the PvP zone. They get matched up, and based on some relationship of their stats, they engage in a combat or just have it auto resolve.
Mhm.
And then at that point, the like choosing your abilities per turn combat would start.
We're not doing that right now, right? That's future combat. Right now, it's
Oh,
just.
So you're thinking just auto resolve for
Yeah,
now?
right now it's just they have their own set of stuff that they run through with their stats. That's how it plays out.
This okay, maybe I had the wrong idea then, because this
Yeah.
whole time I've been working under the assumption that it would work like a more traditional JRPG where you have a turn and
No,
you can
we-
choose what to do on your turn.
We talked about implementing something like that in like Combat 2.0 with like a gambit system. Good, and kind of
Do
thinking
buy
about buying Subnautica. Yeah, it's a good
Subnautica
game.
is really good.
We recommend that one. Yeah, if you like exploration and crafting building games, fantastic.
So then, regardless, what would combat actually look like if we don't have the ability to like give people a choice of things to do?
I was imagining, like, okay, so say it's a cat chasing a rabbit. We'll go with like just a simple example. The cat will have a certain amount of turns that it's going to have to disable the rabbit, right? It'll have, maybe 4 claw attacks and 2 bites that it'll be able to get off in like 6 turns. So it's going to do that as it's chasing the rabbit. And the rabbit, with its, own modifiers, being a rabbit, it's faster, they're good at evading. It might take the 2 turns off the end. We had talked about the herbivore or the prey being able to adjust the amount of turns. The predator brings in its base turns. I'm going to attack you for this long. The prey goes, well, you might get me for a little bit, but I'm wily and you don't have me for that long. That makes up for their lesser health. Sort of balancing this way. So then you might only get, 2 claws and 1 bite, and the other 2 claws and a bite were cut off. And then either that was enough to take down that rabbit, or that wasn't enough to take down the rabbit, and the rabbit got away. And also, do y'all recommend me getting a desktop or a laptop for game design school? Laptop, yep.
So what happens if the predator has a large variety of moves with varying damage amounts, but they don't have enough turns to use them? How do they do they get to choose which ones are done? Do we just prioritize the high damage ones?
The more complex predators with the more attacks will have more turns to be able to attack. They'll have the more endurance, they'll be able to attack longer. It's part of the balance of getting higher tier. Like, you get
Right, but
mauled by a
let's-
bear, it's
let's
not going to
take
maul you
the-
once.
let's take the cat versus rabbit example again. So it's got, cat's got base 6 or whatever, sort of turn listing, and the rabbit takes 2 off. The cat would normally have 6 attacks.
Mhm.
A bite is generally more powerful than a scratch.
Yep.
How do we determine the ordering?
I
do
see
we
it.
let
Because
like
okay. All right. My idea, how I've envisioned it up until now, is you've got a set number of moves, and that's just, that's the move order for that animal. Basic 1.0 setup. Go after that animal because you like its move order. Certain herbivores will take certain attacks off of the end. You only get the beginning bits of it. Some will be better in the beginning, some will be better in the end, some might be better at catching slow predators and therefore be stronger at the end, some might be better at catching fast predators, better at the beginning of their order. And at the end, ideally, it would be entirely dependent on which prey and which predator. You might be taking off their higher damage attacks when you're small and quick. Like a bear might start with some weaker ones and then get the strong attacks at the end when he's been able to overpower them. So if you're fast, you could get away before he gets to those big damage attacks. Whereas an ambush predator,
find move lists.
yeah, like an ambush predator, like a crocodile, would have its big attack at the beginning, and then it does more, flipping and flailing and trying to drown them. But the most vicious and violent part of its assault is that first attack. Very good at taking down little quick things that are vulnerable. That is literally how they hunt.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that I wasn't sure about is having a predefined move list versus letting the player have more interaction. And you know me, I am always in favor of letting the user have more interaction.
Oh, me too. And that's why I would love at 2.0 to change it to a gambit system, where they can define their own attack order ahead of time based on the moves they have and a certain amount of ability points.
I like the...
Curious suggested something that I kind of like a bit.
Okay.
They suggested the rock, paper, scissors system.
Yep.
Maybe for V1, we can kind of condense everything down to maybe just 3 types of moves. So like an offensive move, a defensive move, or like a status effect move for an item. And then you can have a bunch of abilities that it'll choose from, but you still just choose one of those 3. And then it kind of just is rock, paper, scissors for combat. So there's a little bit of interactiveness for the users.
The problem with the quick turn time limit in order to get that interaction, which is a great idea in Karia, but when you're relying on Twitch's tell system, it's not super reliable. And what happens if you lose your combat because the tell got lost and your opponent got theirs in and you didn't, and it auto chose one for you? And yeah, that's my biggest concern on that. That's why I'm thinking a gambit system, which is, when we say gambit system, we're talking about Final Fantasy XII, where you can go in and say, if at 50% of health, use this spell. If anybody is under 30%, use this spell. If enemy is under this percent, use this attack on them. Figure your own attack. I don't want to go quite that complicated, but maybe I've got 8 AP. I'm a cat. I know how to claw and bite. My combo is going to be claw, 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 bite, bite. Or I want to bite right at the beginning and then do some claws and then do a bite right at the end to try to finish them off and allow you to mix and match that way. Then you don't have to have that real-time interpretation during the combat, but the combat that plays out is still the combat you've decided or set up and built toward.
So, not a design note, but a technical limitation note. If by the time we're getting ready to implement Combat 2.0, I'd imagine we just make it a prereq to have the extension instead.
If we want to go that route. If we want to take it to extension by that point. But if we're just... Okay, so...
I was looking into it a little bit, and there are message limits to bots that are not verified for Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
we can
So if
get
we want to
Rainbow
do,
verified. That's not a problem.
Yeah, getting it verified, I'm fine with. But
well,
the
there's known versus verified. Apparently, it takes like a long time to get verified. So it's something we may want to start looking into now. But until then, there would be a limitation.
okay, so the issue we're going to have going the route of Twitch extension is then we need to build a UI, which means we're going to need a whole bunch of assets for the UI as well.
Wouldn't it just interface into the Twitch channel that it's currently like it would something like overlay into the current thing right now and can kind of just utilize the already existing interface?
I guess we can use existing UI assets.
Kind of. We don't necessarily need to have a complicated UI. Like I
No.
don't know if you've been hanging out in Lobos's chat, but they've recently been working on an extension to control the Lobot RPG. And the way that they've been handling it is it's basically just a connection to the IRC backend for
Okay.
Lobot. And it's just a console, and you just input your commands and it just gets sent straight to Lobot rather than going through the TEL system.
I like this. I do like this. And then, yeah, it's no UI. It's just all command line.
So we don't necessarily need a
GUI.
UI for a
We need a UI. We don't need a GUI.
Yeah. We don't necessarily need a GUI for the extension. We can use an extremely similar UI to what we're doing already via the Whisper system.
Does that console output data as well?
I don't see why it couldn't.
So we could totally do combat results and ASCII art and all sorts of stuff through it.
And that would give us a more reliable connection with lower latency that we can then use to do turns, and then we can not have to deal with designing a whole gambit system, because that's a lot of work.
I don't think it'd be that much work. I think it'd be fun.
Okay. I think that's going to be a lot of implementation.
So I just had one thought, and just a quick note on the combat, because we were talking about predator prey, and sometimes predators are also prey depending on what the predator is. So what if every animal has not just its own attack turn order, but also its escape turn order?
See, you've just made it significantly more complicated, and I do think that that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just gotten a lot more complicated to actually build the thing.
I know, but I'm trying to think of making sure it'll work on all levels, because now what happens when a predator hunts a predator? Because if you go hunt, you should definitely be able to end up getting another predator that's in that area.
Maybe we just limit it to just predator versus herbivore for the first version.
I mean, the trick would be to go to a small predator then, basically.
And there's things we can balance to that, right? Like maybe small predators can't hunt bigger herbivores.
Well, they wouldn't be able to successfully take it down, likely, but
I mean, they can try if they want. Let them fail. Let them shoot themselves in the foot.
I'm with you on that.
But once we get the connection issue out of the way, I really think turn-based is the way to go.
Yeah, you want it to be active decisions.
It takes a ton of work out of what we need to do to get Combat 2.0 ready. And it takes a ton of work out of like designing interactions and how we're going to set this all up, and how we want to do all this loading, and what we want to do for managing your move lists, and how you want to put them together. And
Okay. So then when we're building abilities, we can have both movement/escape abilities as well as offensive combat abilities.
Yeah.
So now it doesn't matter for the escape and all that stuff. There's no more chasing, really, at that point, is there? Or do you still want to do that?
No, you can absolutely still have the turn limit.
Yeah, I guess
But
it's true.
if you're not using an escape ability, it doesn't move the turn limit because you're just fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because then there'd be different types of styles. That one is just try to escape as fast as possible, and the one is just try to defend yourself.
Stand to turn your
Yeah.
ground, and that also brings up different potential strategies for things like porcupines and whatnot, where they don't even run; they just sit there and let you try to fight them. And King Alpha, on your question of good cheap desktop, a custom built one. It's always going to be the best way.
Do post in the Discord. We have a computer question channel, and we will be more than happy to help you out in there. We're just trying to stay on topic for working on the bot right now.
Yeah, I've built dozens of gaming desktops and otherwise, and outfitted entire classrooms of full classrooms with different computers all custom built. We can definitely help out, but game.
As it turns out, games are complicated.
Yeah, this is what actually goes into a very simple game. You'll see how simple it is when we're done. However, it just got more complicated than I expected, and I'm kind of stoked.
Yeah. I
So
really
now
do
let's.
think that
So I was just gonna say, let's just choose a set escape number then, and it could just be universal across everything. And rather than having a varying number of turns, you can just have some animals push that escape turn faster and or better to represent them being faster and better at getting away.
so you have essentially a fixed time limit for the
Well,
combat.
time
Which
limit,
I
because
like.
it doesn't extend,
No, I was just about to say I like it a lot.
but it's not a real time limit because it doesn't actually progress if you're not escaping. If you stand and fight, the turn doesn't progress, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really more of an escape value is what I would call it. You have to reach that value in order to. Yeah, it's a victory condition.
I like it.
Okay.
And I mean, like, if we want to get really into doing it, once we get to like Combat 2.0, you could even be like, have moves that reduce your opponent's speed, and if it hits 0, then you get away.
Yeah. Well, you could even just look at that in the exact same way, just reworded, like slowing them down could be considered you escaping. So, like, taking out their knee could progress it 5 of the 10 points. Kind of idea. And then you're using the same mechanics without having to recode anything. It's how you worded it, basically.
Yeah. Like, effectively, it would be just have a bunch of turns or have a bunch of victory points.
Yeah. Escape points or
but
whatever.
Explained as like lore friendly and animal themed.
That's where I specialize. Making rules flavorful sense in game world. I love doing it.
Cool. So we just did Combat 2.0. Let's finish Combat 1.0.
We've basically just jumped. We basically just went, what? We want to do Combat 1? No, let's just do Combat. But yeah, I guess we are starting basic. So do you want to do just what I said? Or, how do you want to do Combat 1.0 with no options, no choices? Because we're not starting with an interface.
I do like the fixed move list idea. Pseudo, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I think it's good. I think it's fine. This is stuff that we'll see how it goes when we start actually implementing it, but I think it's probably not work best for us version 1.
If nothing else, it lets us create a few different abilities for every animal and make sure those abilities get played out and see how they function.
I'm real hyped for Combat 2.0 now.
Me too. After finding out that we're going to do a CLI interface, and my visioning for this is in the console, you guys do all your back and forth, and after the console, it plays out quickly if you're playing it out.
Yeah, if you pay your bits or your talking points, it'll like do a summary in the chat or like play a little animation along the bottom.
Yep. But it won't be waiting for the inputs and doing just chunks. It'll have all of the data and just like play it out as an actual scene so you can visualize what happened there. Willis is about to beat his first ever run of Spire. Good for him. He should have played it a while ago. That's a great game.
I agree. It flew under a lot of people's radar, and it was one of the few games that I actually bought before full release.
And I understand why. I played the shit out of that game. It was a ton of fun. It's still on my wheel for a reason.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Okay, so Combat 1.0, predetermined movesets.
Nice to meet you.
Combat General. Nice to meet you too. Hey, Seven of Spades, TTV, how you doing? How's your Saturday? If it's Saturday for you. It's beautiful sunny over here. I hope your Saturday's great too. Nothing better to do on a sunny Saturday than sit inside and make games. So Combat General will put some pretty good, mate. Excellent, excellent. Love to hear that. On Combat General, we're gonna say escape points, because I just love that term more than victory.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's effectively the same thing, but like escape stuff.
Yeah. Or
Other victory conditions.
Predator kills prey.
Yeah, Predator takes down prey, or prey disables Predator.
So when it's Predator versus Predator, are they just going to fight and just play through their turn orders and they'll have a combat with each other?
There's nothing saying that Predators can't have moves that generate escape points.
But it would be useless for them to have that if they're hunting something.
But unless they're the top of the food chain, they're gonna want it.
That's fair.
Say another Predator, like say, you or I or Pseudo have been playing the game since its inception. We've leveled up a whole bunch, and some new viewer joins and they're like, you know what? I want to be a Puma. So they start going down the Predator path, but we are significantly stronger and they wouldn't be able to beat us in a fight, so they need some way to generate escape points.
Predators also have to chase down prey quite often rather than just attack them. So what if the same one plays out whether you're predator or prey, and when you have catching points, you can reduce their escape points? And it's just a catch point is an escape point. They're basically the same thing.
So you'd be able to modify your opponent's victory condition.
Or reduce their ability to escape.
Maybe like prevent them from losing a escape point or something.
It would at least let you get your entire set of attacks in that way. That you might not necessarily take them down, but at least you can keep up with them to finish clawing at them. Rather than them just escaping and taking off. It's not reducing their ability to win, it's reducing their ability to instant win.
So I like that idea, but we will have to be very careful with how we balance escape points.
Absolutely.
I think.
We were going to have to be very careful with it from the beginning, though.
But even more so.
Yes.
Like, I think we'll have to have a large value just for balance's sake.
That's fine. 100?
I'm leaning towards 100, yeah.
I like 100. 100's always a good number to balance with. Just so you guys know, when you're designing games, the smaller number you use for your values, the harder it is to balance things, because you have less in-between values. More in-between values will always make for a better balance. That's why WoW's PvP got so good after they got to the millions of hit points.
And then they get stat crunched, and everybody hated it.
Yeah, well,
It was a weird time
Blizzard's
to go from like lots of health to back to nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Blizzard's gonna fuck themselves. It's just sad.
No, that's
Sad, but true.
Activision Blizzard. That's what Activision Blizzard does.
Actablizz is what I call them. God damn Actablizz, stop ruining all my childhood favorites. None of the original members, anyway. Oh, we should play some Lost Vikings on Retro Day.
Yes, I agree.
Love that game.
Also,
Combat 2.0
Volgar.
will be user input. Took me like 100 tries to get my first one.
We should probably also include like prereqs under Combat 2.0 for like have at least a CLI available, and a turn system worked out.
Yay, states.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
gotta happen.
That's why I was just saying, let them choose the moves themselves, where all you're doing is basically just loading an array with predetermined moves, and then instead of having to have the UI back and forth, it just plays out their moves in their order.
I mean, I get it.
You don't need the turns. You still need the CLI to be able to put in the order, but you don't get the turns. I love turns, don't get me wrong. I fucking love turns. It's just a lot of work.
It seems like it could be implemented kind of close to the same because you could just take out the user interactive of the turns, and then it would still just iterate through the turns per the index of the array.
Yeah, the only difference is instead of getting to make your decision at that moment based on the current state of the combat, you've made your decision prior to the combat.
Yeah, no, what I meant was it's something that we can actually jump back to if this gets too complicated, that we can just still use the same code and then take out the user interactability that pauses the turn and just roll with the same.
Totally.
Yeah.
That is absolutely possible. Anything we can do.
But I do feel like more user interactivity is better for a game.
I agree with a game, but also in a chat bot, they're also watching stream and chatting, and it might be too much attention. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. If people don't like it, we can always change it.
Yeah,
It's not set in stone.
yeah. That's the beauty of making it yourself, is totally changeable. And when we go to redesign this, we'll definitely be including you guys. We are trying to include you, just so you know. Please throw ideas out.
And Caria, for instance, has contributed quite a lot to the design of the game.
And Caria has thrown a lot, especially last session. You were a valuable, valuable asset to us. Loved your ideas. And Pookie's the one that came up with the whole animal-based system. Be back in a few. Alrighty, board. So what do you guys, and Caria as well, what do you all think of the ideas we've been throwing around for combat? Does that sound? I mean, but you haven't been saying anything. Are you just listening and nodding, going, "That's a really good idea"? Or I want to know if you actually agree with it or not, since you would be the ones playing it.
I think we should write out what it kind of would look like kind of just play through the scenario, but like type it out in the document so we have an example of what Combat 1.0 is going to look like from like a user perspective.
Do it, buddy.
Okay.
Last time I bring up an idea.
So there's going to be, I guess, the like pre-combat phase and like predetermining your movesets. This is something I guess we're not choosing. It's just what you have available to you as a species. It's just something you have.
Let's think of it as 1.0. Past midnight, too tired. Just listening. I will try it though. Believe in the project. I have faith for it too. Details are curious. Does sound curious. Let's go a 1.0, not 2.0 playthrough. So there would be no player decision on the move ordering at that point. They would just
if you scroll up just a little bit, you can see the Combat 1.0 example that Pseudo is working on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, what I meant was like, I guess, are we going to have abilities right out of the gate, or is it just going to be just raw stats against stats for 1.0?
Definitely abilities on the animals right away. Give it some flavor, but the ordering of the abilities and everything will set in stone.
Yeah. So then, just all abilities you have are just there, or is it something that like you can choose what's kind of like an active ability before you go in, and it just like that's just what happens?
No, it's just predetermined. This animal attacks in this way when it attacks.
Okay, cool.
Just make it nice and simple.
And for the prey, I think in 1.0 they will just be leaving.
At least herbivores will only be. Yeah, even then they might have some fight back. I think we could still use the same victory condition. If they manage to get enough escape points, then they escape.
I'm mostly just running through this so we can kind of iron out a lot of the minor details we might have missed. So now, like, what do we show? Like, what do we say or tell to players when this has started?
We don't say anything to the prey right away. The predator gets informed that they have a target. And I say we just tell them basic information, not even the name of the player, who that is. Just maybe what type of animal it is. You found
a species.
You found a cat. Something like that. Found a cougar.
You found a species. Do you want to engage?
So like that, you found a species, do you want to engage? And then yes, and then this was when it alerts the prey. Prey has been alerted that a predator is now
you are being hunted.
Chasing it?
Or you are being chased. Yeah, like you are being chased.
So we say you're now being chased by whatever species it is. It's coming after you.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
you're just being chased.
No additional
Okay.
information other than just what type of animal it is chasing them. You know, when you're running for your life, you're not looking back and going, "God damn it, Bob."
Although it would be really funny.
Actually, you know what? I think I did do that once in a while in Outlast. I was just, got tired and like just stopped, like, "God damn it, Chris," and then got my body ripped off.
The whole thing. So at that point, the auto-generated turn order would, the predefined turn order would happen.
Yeah, instantly, basically.
Okay, then yeah, combat resolution.
Well, no, after that, it would be, do you want to make this hunt public? Would have to be the next question. Before they get the combat resolution. Do you want just a notification on the final result, or do you want to actually watch this play out?
I'm still somewhat shaky on how the bits interaction for that will go. Like, it'll have to be just sending bits with like exclamation point combat.
Yeah, I've been looking into or researching a little bit, and it looks very, very restrictive currently.
Oh,
It's,
but this does fall
it's-
within
it's-
fair use of bits. I have done.
No, I
on the
mean,
legal
like,
side.
technical limitations. Like these don't really get broadcasted of what's happening. I think there's event stuff for bits, but it's going to be hard to kind of capture the right message from that. And we can say like, oh, if you want to say this and then do exclamation point, blah blah blah. But there's also the room of error. Like, what if they spend the bits and then type the wrong command with the bit message, and then all of a sudden that's kind of wasted.
Well, I do know that some add-ons, bots, etc., do have the ability to directly interact with the bit system and take bit payments. That won't be a 1.0.
Generally not chatbots. Generally extensions have the ability to do that.
Mhm.
And it may be part of a bot, like on the surface, but it's a Twitch extension that's actually doing that and then just communicating with the bot.
Yeah, I was going to say we might not be able to do the bits in 1.0, which is fine. It's still early at that point.
Yeah, we can at least
So-
try. We can plan it at least and see.
Yeah, we
try a limitation.
We can try and definitely just set a warning saying this is experimental, and if it fails, sorry, we can't give you your bits back.
An alternative way that it could be done is you can pre-purchase like the ability to do it,
Mhm.
and then that way you can just tell RageBot being like, all right, yes, I want to spend one of my pre-purchased broadcasting points
And then
to do.
we can just keep a tally in the background of how many they have available to them, and if they flag, yes, I want to use one of them here and now, there's no interaction from us, there's no troubleshooting, there's none of that. It's just the background value gets down by 1 and it generates the HTML.
Yeah. And if there's any issues that happen with it, it's a lot easier for us to kind of refund that token than it is to refund bits.
Yeah, they've already spent the bits. We can't do anything about the bits, but we can definitely go in and up that number passively in the background through an admin console and essentially fix their payment. There's no loss of bits.
Okay, so that might be a way to. So there's limitations. It's definitely not going to come up when we actually try to implement it. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff around that. But yeah,
I do like that 1.0 solution of all the safety and ability for us to intercede where needed.
Oh yeah, we will definitely need an admin console.
And the ability to do the pre-purchase bits, so we could admin console in our own currency onto it or the display is fine, and it's not against bit policy because it's not giving them anything of credible value that they would be able to resell.
cool. So then for 1.0, and then combat resolution, and it's displayed to both users or broadcasted if
I need water, I'll be back.
and then I guess after resolution's been displayed, then the winner has been the reward to the winner is then provided, and I think that wraps up combat.
Yeah, basically up to the point of making a few animals and figuring out abilities and turn orders for them.
Yeah, this is very, very just like a UX story for it, and then we can do the technical side of it later. Both want to kind of make sure that we have this fleshed out first.
Yeah, totally.
And I think this is
I'm happy with that flow. Rage?
I feel like there's something missing, but I can't put my finger on what it is.
Viewers?
yeah, I feel that too.
What's missing, viewers? Sing.
So, enter PvP zone. Oh, that's what we're forgetting. NPC combat. We just didn't touch it.
I wasn't really thinking of having any.
Well, then how do predators get points without being in the PvP zone?
They don't.
So then there's no reason to play a predator if you're not going to be actively in chat.
Pretty much.
I think you just I think it's played NPC prey.
Well, even your
It's
NPC,
fine.
even as a herbivore, not as a predator, complete prey, you still have to be in chat. Otherwise, you're not getting any points. You're not getting passive points when you're not there.
Why would you not? Like isn't that the whole deal with the herbivores, is that you don't have to be actively in chat or playing the game?
You don't have to be actively playing the game. You still have to be in chat.
I think what he meant was at stream at least.
Okay.
The point is to have a game for people to play while they're in the channel. You were thinking that
So
the
then-
herbivores would just be a big idle game?
Yeah, that is kind of literally the point. Then why do we have a PvP zone?
Because they get
Like,
double the
why would
points when they're active in there.
Yeah, but then there's no difference, right? Like you're either in chat doing the thing or you're not.
But you said people might want to play but not have to be subjected to the PvP. They don't want to get hunted. They could have a safe place where they could go and hang out and be in chat and get their points without having to be hunted.
Sure.
How
But
that
then what
came
about
out.
the people who want to play Predators?
Then you want to hunt things.
Yeah. What if you don't want to hunt other chat members?
Yes. Seems boring. Look, I caught the NPC deer that I can catch 100% of the time. And all.
So you say you've got a person who is very interested in the social aspects of being in chat, cares a lot about being here, wants to actively play the game, but they don't want to hunt their friends. Like that doesn't seem that unreasonable to me.
So how do you want it to play out?
The same sort of deal, except, not in the PvP zone, and you take out the checking stage. Like you come up against prey as a predator just on a interval, and then it says, do you want to do the hunt? Yes. Combat resolution.
So what's the benefit of PvP over hunting PvE guaranteed stuff?
Bigger rewards.
PvE also doesn't have to be guaranteed.
Well, the way it is right now, if you catch it once, you'll catch it 100 times.
If we just
Same
split
with
it,
P. Like,
Well, the PvP will vary a little bit because things will be scaling off of stats. There will be some alterance PvP side because they're actually going to level and change.
right, but if you keep running into the same person, you're going to win 100 times out of 100.
In that day. The next day, they might be stronger.
Which is the whole purpose of like having it be idle, and you don't necessarily have to be there, and you can just hang out in the like, you need to be there to be in the PvP zone, but you don't necessarily need to be there to be in the grazing area outside of the PvP zone.
Okay. So we
Yeah,
had talked
maybe.
about how predators only gain from hunting.
Yep.
So is that more active? You don't get any idle points then? You have to be there and actively hunt even NPCs?
You would get extremely minimal idle points. You want people to be feeling rewarded. You don't want people to feel left out just because they've chosen to play a certain way. So you get some idle points, but you get very, very minimal, like a third as much as the herbivores.
Yeah, the non PvP zone combat was for the people who didn't want to face other players, because not everyone wants to do that.
Okay. Let's
It's
add.
just so the options there, like it's easy enough to implement. Like NPCs are just going to be what players are. They're just going to be generated and exist only in that one zone. Combat, I think, is going to be the exact same, just without the broadcast, and then the rewards are just going to be not as great as if it's in the PvP zone. But on an implementation level, it should be the same system.
We'll just need some level of RNG in the combat then.
I feel like the RNG would probably be like deciding what you come up against.
It can be by species.
I'd
and,
like to see
species
some
matchups.
variance in the actual hit and miss and damage dealt then, so that there's never an absolute guarantee.
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can have, varying qualities of NPC hunts.
Or even in the attack, just you're not always going to land every claw you throw. You're not always going to land every bite you throw. Which makes sense.
That necessitates a lot more in-depth combat design, though.
A little bit more.
A lot more combat implementation.
I think we can just keep what we have now, but just have a version that's just against like generated players and not like real things, since there isn't any interaction anyways. It is just auto. and kind of just let that be as it is, and then check and use it, and then give us feedback on how that side of things can be improved.
I guess yeah, they're for the variants, because like I said, I don't want it to be everything. I guess what we can do is have a range of possible stats for each animal on the NPC side, and then randomize it that way, which will change the amount of damage things are done and the amount of health things have and whatnot, but you won't have to be rolling any randoms in combat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm good with that then.
And I do like the idea of the herbivores being the kind of idle game, and you just generate a certain amount of points every day, and you can generate more if you're at the stream in the PvP zone. Regardless, you're just kind of there getting points. Whereas if you're a predator, it's more of an active role, and you kind of have to actively play the game, because then it kind of balances both of those play styles.
Are we completely dropping the herd idea to bring a social aspect to the herbivores?
It's something we can still do.
I do love the idea of a social aspect to a game on a interactive chat channel.
I agree. But I'm having a hard time envisioning how that would interact with the game.
As am I, but I do want to include it. Okay, so should one person be worth more than another in the herd?
I don't think so.
Okay. And I want chat's contribution on this too. We're currently at an impasse. We need to figure out a way to implement this because we like the idea, but we can't have any idea. We have no idea right now of how to actually do it. This is when we definitely need you guys. I had talked a little bit about using almost a page rank system for the herds, because bigger is better. So bigger is more valuable at that point, which would mean you'd want to join the bigger herd. Is there added value in the herd? Absolutely there should be, and I'm thinking maybe, here's an idea. That idle bonus that you were talking about is passive across all animals. As a herbivore by yourself, you get the same passive bonus as a carnivore by yourself. As a carnivore, you hunt and get huge rewards on way ahead on top of that passive value. As a herbivore, you're a social animal, and you go out and create alliances, and as the herd builds, it raises your multiplier for your passive bonus. And that's how you get more out of being a herbivore.
Love it.
Yeah, I like that. I like it gives the herbivore something to do then as well.
What do you think of that, Narield?
So then, my next question is, do we want to have a cap on herd size?
No.
What incentivizes anybody joining a different herd?
I don't think
what forces that.
Well, do we have different herds is another question. Like we don't have to do it as a super realistic herd idea. The way I was thinking was everybody's multiplier will be different. It's not a herd multiplier, and how big your multiplier is how many alliances you've made with other people. That's your herd. Other people's herds, just because they're in your herd, doesn't mean they have all the links of your herd. They have their own herd that they've built, basically.
So now we have to have a model on each individual herbivore that tracks what their one-to-many relationship is.
Basically.
Many-to-many are fun.
Many to what?
I said self-referencing many-to-many relationships are very fun.
Yep.
I literally had to do that last week at work, and it was a good time.
It's not going to be the easiest, but
it's
not
impossible.
No, it's not impossible. It's not simple, but it's not impossible. It's just a bit of data modeling, a bit of math.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense if it's just the amount of. I'm just going to use technical terms here just to keep it.
Yeah, totally. That's how we have to talk about it right now.
The amount of connections the current entity has to the other herbivore entities affects their value.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if we wanted to put the modifier for connecting to someone who has a high value already, if that would play into anything, or if it's everyone's just going to kind of connect up.
I would prefer it, but we don't need to do that for 1.0 because implementing page rank values into these connections is going to be complicated.
Okay. The only question I have is then
But I do
It's
love the
just,
idea of page ranking it because then
yeah.
the more powerful your herd is, the more valuable it is to make an alliance with you. So those are the people that you're going to want to make a link with the most, but you're also giving them more power. So it's a two-way street. You're going to give them more, but you're going to get more. Do you want to give the person who's already the strongest yet more power, even if it means giving you power?
Yeah, well, the thing with herbivores is that it doesn't really matter since they're not competing with each other.
Well, there's
Unless
always
we
a
wanted to add
leaderboard or something somewhere, right?
Yeah. But for the current system, the only two questions I have really is if there's ever a way to lose one of those connections, or if we're ever going to implement any sort of incentive to why someone would want to reject that, or if it's just a reward for being at the chat at the same time as someone else that you can now make that connection.
Yeah, it's just a reward for being at the chat at the same time as somebody else to establish that connection, which means it's more valuable as a herbivore to be on more times and meet more people. The more social you are, the more connections you're making, the more valuable your multiplier is. Rage is shaking his finger. I'm not sure if he's thinking or has something to say.
Both. I was trying to think of a way that we could actually enforce that, and I don't think there is one. Because this entire game is played asynchronously.
Yeah.
Enforce which
no
part,
way
sir?
to enforce being there at the same time.
Couldn't it be? Well, it would have to require like user input, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's going to
And
have
then
to
it could be
be
something that
So we say like there's a timer on it, a 5-minute timer, where if you don't respond, you don't get that connection.
yeah,
maybe
I
like
could see
12
it
hour?
that yeah,
like a 12-hour.
12 hours is even a bit much. Even 10 minutes is fine. Hey, you want to make a herd? You want to form a herd with me? Yeah, sure, let's do it. Type in the thing he gives the command to the bot sends a tell to the other person, and the other person has to respond within that time.
This might be a V2 implementation, but just an idea when it's sped out. Maybe the connections can even like expire after a certain amount of time. There's no interaction, so you have to keep up the kind of connections.
I had thought about that for a while and thought of it as maybe an upkeep cost. So the more connections you have, the more work it takes, the more you have to put into it. And Nariel, to answer your questions, it wouldn't be your defense modifier that goes up. It would be the multiplier for your experience, basically. So you'll get more experience and can spend that on your defense if you wanted to, or can spend it in other ways. Basically leveling up faster.
So now that we've discussed that a little bit more, I'm starting to like it more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more on this idea right now than on this alternate I'm about to propose. But I feel like it's important that we think about it.
Absolutely.
What do we think about having a similar to a guild system for our herds, where the size of your herd, like the herd is an entity of itself rather than a relationship, and the roster size determines your modifier up to a maximum, which encourages people to have their own little group, get more tightly knit. You then get people to like say, you know, oh, I really want my new buddy who's joining the stream recently to be able to be part of my herd, but this herd is full. You know, let's go make another one.
I think it makes clicks. That's not necessarily a good thing.
Guild might be a good idea for something that predators can do. So like certain predators can band together, and then that might be something that kind of factors into like predator versus predator, since predator is the sort of competition build these players are the ones that want to compete with each other and flex the absolute most. Maybe that's something that goes into there. Later on, we can try to figure out how that goes in.
I could maybe see it once we do like the 3.0, what we were talking about, dungeons and a place that you can go explore together and stuff. Then you might want to, only have the people that you trust to go do that stuff with you in a group,
Yeah.
and have a way to group off. But I think just encouraging a more widespread, open, be as social as you can, meet as many people as you can, grow your herd, grow your social standing, grow the people that you are familiar with, and go meet new people to become better. Stronger way to do it.
Yeah, I think that's at least good for 1.0 implementation. And also encourages people to invite others to the chat so they can connect with them and play the.
And as a note, an implementation note, I do think it should be a logarithmic scale.
What should be a logarithmic scale?
Your multiplier based on your connection pool.
Okay.
Like once you have 100 connections, the value that you get out of each individual connection drops because you're clearly there with a bunch of other people who are then introducing you to people who are then introducing them to people who are then introducing them to people. And it would be very easy to gamify the gaining of experience just by gaming the system if there isn't some sort of logarithmic scaling to it.
By gaming the system, you mean meeting lots of people?
Well, not necessarily meeting, just like spamming chat. Just every single person in there. Just pull down the player list, spam everybody, see who says yes.
Yeah, it's great to think about that. The herbivores would get very spammy.
So one of the things I thought about on that front, because I have thought about this as well. This came to me in the bath, and I did a lot of thinking on. One of the ones I was thinking is having a cost, maybe even an experience cost, to set up those links.
Yeah, or even like a limit, some sort of limit that factors into like level or what they have.
Maybe factoring the limit into level, maybe I could see, but I really don't like the idea of limiting their ability to go out and meet people and socialize and improve from it. I don't want there to ever be a point where they're like, well, I'd love to go and, partake in chat and meet people and have fun, but it won't do anything for me right now. That seems like a negative situation.
Which is why I like the logarithmic scaling for the different connections. Because as you gain more connections, they're still good for you. They're just less meaningful than the first ones.
Wouldn't new players then still be subjected to being super spammy?
For the first couple of days, yeah, you'd get the spam of like, hey, be our friend, come join our community.
Actually, I think a combination of what Dea said and what you said might be good then. So then, like, new players are restricted by the amount of experience points they have, and then when they do have more, because like end game or later on players would have a lot and could get a lot at once, you put in a logarithmic scaling so that they don't need to just completely spam for it.
What if the logarithmic scale isn't on the benefit from them, but on the cost to establish them?
No, that would have to be exponential.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Shut up. Math is hard. Same idea, though. You don't get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Instead of reducing the benefit of it, it's still effective and beneficial for you to set up those things, and it's going to be the same number benefit, but it'll be a much smaller percentage benefit, and because the percentage cost of your next established link is greater, really how much it's giving you for how much you paid for it is less and less and less, and there's substantially diminishing returns on the turned value based on the cost, but you're generating more, so you can realistically still afford.
If we're going to add the cost to sending or like creating that connection, not necessarily, well, Do we want to have an XP cost for sending the connection invite?
No, for establishing. Well, we could do it for sending.
That doesn't stop spam.
We should do it. Yeah, we'll do it for sending. And if you send it and they say no, it's your own goddamn fault.
Yeah, you didn't make good enough friends.
Yeah, you didn't go out and establish a relationship and a rapport with them. You don't want to just invite some random person to your herd because they could, fall asleep on guard duty and invite the fucking lions in. You're trusting your life with this person. It's not someone you just met.
It can also be something like the invitation, like we said before, we put the time limit up too, so then it's someone that when you send the invitation out, you know that they're currently active in chat, so you're not just spamming everyone. If you have enough, hopefully someone gets back to you. That way you talk to someone like, oh, hey, you're active in chat right now, I can send this invitation, and chances are they'll say.
That was my original idea, is you both talk about it and agree to form it before it's sent. So, yes, pay for sending it to produce spam and expect them to trust each other and create a relationship and have a rapport with each other before they have the communication in game.
And I feel like I feel like will still need somewhat of a logarithmic scale, so that like we don't necessarily have to have it be super spiky, but like the reward you get for the first couple should jump up quite quickly.
Well, here's the thing.
It should feel big to incentivize doing it more.
It will feel big right away, and even if the value is consistent, if the cost is increasing, the return is diminishing. We don't need to balance two scales. We can do just the cost scale with a consistent, you get plus 10 every time. The first time you pay it, it's really cheap, 1 or 2. I'm using basic numbers so you can understand, right? 1 or 2, you get 10, and you had 0. You just went up a lot. The next time, 3 or 4, and you double it because you're going from 10 to 20. But when you're at 2,000 and you're going to 2,010, and it costs 10 times, you're paying 100. It costs 100 times instead of the 1, and you're just going up 0.2% instead of 50%. And the next one's going to be more expensive and provide just the same 10 to bring you up to 2020, but it's a huge cost you have to save up for at that point.
Yep, I like it.
Okay.
We are forgetting the middle ground. We are forgetting our pack hunters, where you do want to have the ability to create a pack, but you don't want it to necessarily be able to. You don't necessarily want to be able to only idle as a pack.
Sometimes they hunt as a pride, and sometimes individuals go out. Lions are funny that way. But,
so, like, how do we handle scaling prey versus pack animal?
I'm with you.
Idle values.
I'm with you, and my gears are turning here. So we've got a cost for creating the link to increase your passive. There is no way to increase the passive for the hunters, but when you're hunting, you get a big bonus. So maybe there's a cost to initiating a hunt, which there probably should be, because animals do have to expend fair amounts of energy even finding something to hunt.
And a pack hunter would have to pay both costs and get less of a return on each. Like, say, you get 10 extra XP per 3 minutes as herd animal, you get 5 as a pack animal, and you get 0 as a predator for having somebody
1.
in your
Or
sure 1.
You said you wanted to have some idle for
connection. Like, no, the way I was thinking it is the predators, like purely predators, or solo predators, I should say, don't scale on social interaction.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
They can have social interactions. You can totally have a connection to somebody, but you're not going to get any XP for it.
So then from there, I see the pack hunters, they'll get less for a raw hunt, but I would think that their herd bonus would then impact also their hunt value. I would like for a well built pack animal who spent all the points to build the links as well, also be able to then outdo them on a successful hunt, get more points for having spent more time on the pack side, whereas they would have spent all those points hunting, gotten all the high value targets to begin with. They would get more points probably at the beginning than the pack, but the pack later on would be able to then outpace them.
Do predators need to have pack capabilities in the first version, or is it
Nope.
something that maybe they're just solo for the time being?
Well, if the system's already there, then the system's already there, and I see no harm in letting them use it. They'll just won't scale off of it.
Yeah, I feel like just
And then you're not trying to exclude or create a separate model.
This human being wants to be a wolf. I want to have the pack and I want to hunt.
Yeah, and I think that because that takes the most work, then in the long term, that should be able to outclass. But it is the most work, and the pure predator will probably outclass them at the beginning. If they keep up the work, they'll be able to keep up with them from constantly hunting, but eventually, you want to be an owl solo hunter. Catching those mices.
And those delicious NPC mice.
Yep.
Nom 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 nom.
Yeah, I have a lot of really cool ideas for pack hunting when we get closer to 2.0 and stuff like that. Things kind of like, um, depending on how, if we want to limit it, like you can make like a wolf pack. So like you get benefits if you have 5 people in your wolf pack, and if you're all active in the PvP zone together, you each get a bonus to your combat kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like that. Oh my goodness, those bullets are ugly.
And that way it keeps things, maybe then certain species maybe have, like there's pack hunter species that people want to spec into that have certain like pack limits. So then you're kind of forming a closer knit kind of hunting community and you PvP together. And then the herbivores are still this just giant social kind of interaction experience where you just want to grow this giant herd and, you know, kind of just be together and keep those connections up.
Yeah, I'm with the scaling. I think that all works. See any loopholes?
I'm sure they'll pop up, but hopefully we can just patch those out. Yay for alpha and beta testing.
Indeed. Who doesn't love alpha testing?
That's where you find all the fun broken stuff.
Drinking is hard.
I think we're in a pretty good space for combat. There's some other stuff that we'll probably need to flesh out. I don't know if we'll have time for it today, but maybe we can plan a bit.
But what we
Mostly the actual like species choosing and what the actual initial out of box experience is going to be for a player.
Yeah, I was going to say, since we've got a few viewers here and people are enjoying this, and we've basically got combat figured out and not a lot of ideas have been thrown out during this part, because this is pretty technical and structured and rigorous rules and really my wheelhouse.
And a lot of us just yelling at each other.
Yeah, but hey, we ended up coming up with something great, though. I'm very happy with the end result. That's what's important. Let's let chat have some fun. And what should we want? 9 animals at the beginning, we said. Let's do 9. 3 pack, 3 solo, and 3 herbivore.
Are we doing pack at 1.0 for pack hunting?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want it. I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
4 herbs. Okay. All 4 herb.
Hey.
Yay, puns with herb. But so chat. This is we're out. We're gonna add 1.
I just tried to scroll the document on the stream.
I've
Or not
definitely clicked on
Herba.
it a few times.
Okay, so the only one that we are going to add ourselves, wolf. Because all of us want wolf. What do you guys want?
Thing.
Give us animals. What are we adding in here? You did the food pyramid, right? Need a big base to support more predators. Robust plant life means lots of herbivores. Otters.
And the otters, that's a really cool one.
That's a cool one. That's a pack hunter.
Is it?
Yep.
I would say that they're more solo.
I think they're solo.
They work together.
They have little family units, but they don't really hunt together. Like, they hunt on their own.
There's still a hunter that works in a pack, and they're more effective in a unit than they are by themselves because they share food. They bring food back.
More so than other family, like predator family units?
There's a lot of predators that don't even have a family unit. That's what I see as pure predator. Like a bear.
Bears have family units.
Not
like
really. There's a
female
female
bears
bear with a couple cubs, and if any males come around, they eat the cubs. That's not a family unit. Caribou is Canadian as all hell. I'm down. They hunt singularly or in pairs, and although otters generally forage in water, they are equally at home on land, sometimes traveling between 10 and 18 miles in search of food. While river otters tend to live alone or in pairs, they often socialize in groups and are known for their playful behavior. Hyenas. Hyenas are also pack hunters, agreed? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so we're good on pack hunters. And I'm glad we got an otter in there, which is an amphibious one, and brings some cool... Maybe keep them coming. We won't necessarily use just those three, but we'll get our base, and maybe we'll even end up using more because we just love them.
So I know Nariel brought up that she wanted to be an owl, so we definitely need to have some sort of raptor chat. What kind of raptor should we have?
She brought up owl. We can put owl in. Male polar bear. All male bears are assholes. All male bears do the same. They will eat anything they can get their paws on, including their own young.
Smokey says, "What the fuck?" Smokey the bear is not happy with that.
Smokey the bear gonna eat his kids.
That's true. Maybe Smokey the bear's an asshole. Maybe he's the one lighting the fire so he can keep a job.
No, that's the hawks. Haven't you seen that one? The hawks in Australia have been spotted spreading wildfire. Lynxes.
Ooh. I like that.
Smokey is single. Now we know why. Yeah, but no, actual hawks in Australia have been recorded when there's a bushfire. They'll pick up burning branches and fly over brushes and drop the burning branch into the brush to light the brush on fire so they can catch all the little animals that go scurrying out of the fire.
Yep, I can see it.
Brilliant. Crows. I think crow's another pack hunter.
Ooh. Yeah, crows are an interesting one.
Super intelligent animals. My mom loves crows. She keeps pet crows all around her house. All the crows in the neighborhood know my mom.
Oh yeah, any corvid, really. Crows, ravens.
You'd play a crow? I'd play a crow. Or an owl. Or an eagle. That's one I'd love to see as a apex solo hunter. A harpy eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah? Can we add a harpy eagle? Can somebody say harpy eagle so we can put it there? That'd be cool.
Nariel just said eagle.
We just keep things as like generalized as possible for now, anyways. You can always have the subspecies later.
Fair enough, fair enough. Eagle. Fine, we'll go with eagle. Lynx, owl, eagle. Upland sandpiper. I used to live on Sandpiper Street. Actually, it was Sandpiper Place. Sandpiper Place. We had Sandpiper Place.
Sandpipers go.
It was the most confusing little area. It was where I grew up in Mission. I delivered newspapers there. And you know how you always have like all the addresses and streets you have to do for your newspaper route given to you, if you've ever done a newspaper route? Well, I had to do Sandpiper Place, Sandpiper Street, Sandpiper Crescent, Sandpiper Court, and Sandpiper Drive.
So it is all of the Sandpipers. All of them.
What a confusing place. You'd be going down Sandpiper PL, and then there's Sandpiper CT, and Sandpiper DR, and Sandpiper ST, and you're like, what the fuck is this place?
So we've got some hunters going on. What do we think about herbivores?
I'm biting my tongue real hard.
Oh yeah, I got some
Yeah.
ideas.
I am nothing but ideas. It happens. Mice are necessary but tend to be NPC. Well, also remember that you're going to start small, and you have to build your stats in order to get to these animals. So we do need some varying sizes, too.
I do like the idea of NPC species, though, for the sake of just farming them. And that way we can have super weak things that people can hunt on that players don't have to be.
I'm totally cool with the NPC hunting idea after bringing in the cost to initiate a hunt idea.
Yeah, I'm not saying 1.0 even. I'm just saying eventually it'd be a great idea, even like down the road.
I'm even fine
2.0 and
1.0.
stuff like-
It's just we hadn't even thought of the cost to initiate a hunt when we last talked about it. Little fishy, fishy. Oh, fishy, 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 fishy. Fishy, fishy, fishy. Hairs, indeed. I have hairs all over the place. I have hairs places you don't
Make
even
sure
want to
there's
know.
no end to that.
That will be for our Cretacean expansion. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some ideas in each category. I think we need to set out something that will be a starter for each category.
I agree, but we didn't add the one I wanted in herbivores. Hippo!
That was what I was thinking as well. Hippo is like your apex herbivore.
Oh yeah, totally. Don't fuck with it. Also, amazing that you went to the same place I did.
Oh yeah, hippos are dope. They're dinosaurs. So what do we like as a couple? Do we want just one starter for now in each category, or do we
One
want a
starter is
couple
fine.
starters in each category?
I think simple is better for the time being. And we can, because I'm sure we're going to be branching out to many species. So maybe just one starter for now, so we can kind of get those trees kind of filtered out in the process of like beginning, middle, and then kind of end.
Moles. Yeah, I'm putting that on a list. I like that. Yes, hippos are basically trucks. They're like trucks if trucks were made out of dinosaur.
Meat truck.
Giraffes.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, a guy named Senpai. Welcome, welcome. I hope you're enjoying. If you have ideas, throw them in. This will actually eventually get made. I hope. That's the plan anyway.
Provided that the two busier of the members have time to work on it.
Luckily, my workload got cut in half now, so I'm good.
Oh,
My
nice.
project is
You may
finished.
actually have a free time.
It's
Excellent.
been great. I don't know what to do with myself.
You know what you should do with yourself? Sekiro.
Yeah, I've been getting to that. Warmer up. I started playing The Forest, and I got so hooked on that for the next couple days until I beat it, and then I'm gonna jump back on.
That happens. That
Yeah.
happens. So, okay, biomes. Since we're only doing certain creatures, should we keep it to certain biomes?
Biomes are coming in 2.0.
No,
Yeah, that's
I'm
a
just
2.0.
talking pure theory here to help us structure our initial 9. Like, you know, if we have like one creature in the water of the 9, is it fine that things are hunting it and it's hunting a, you know, is the shark's going after a bear? Is that fine for now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we have shark yet, but like it
Well,
can just
see,
lore-wise,
I'm
it's just
saying
an
that 'cause-
island, and then somebody can just jump in the water.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'm good with that. Yeah, I like the fantasy aspect of it. There is like aliens invading and DNA manipulation and all sorts of stuff going on. So even if it's classified as a shark, it might not be fully shark anyway.
Hippo sharks. Terrifying.
So I googled sharks with legs, and it was a terrible time. It is hilarious, but my god.
Turtle.
But what I was going to say is, there's no reason why a shark couldn't just run on land and attack something and then go back.
I mean,
If it's been alien modified.
yeah.
Giraffe wolves. Like really long legs and really long neck on a wolf.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's.
Or not even really long legs, just the neck. I feel like the intermediate step there is hyena.
We have hyena.
I know, we've already got precedent.
Yeah. Tiger sharks will beach themselves for food. Yep. So will killer whales. Orcas. Orcas are incredibly intelligent on that front. I also love their, they'll actually get together in a big pod and create a wave to send waves over ice floating on the surface and knock whatever's lying on the ice into the water.
And then they get a snack.
Yeah.
Random tidbit. This is definitely a V2, probably a V3 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see biomes being like metas. Like if you watch the Tier Zoo video, then like certain classes are restricted to certain areas, and that's just like that meta. And those are just the things that can interact with each other, which might be kind of neat. So like the sea is just a meta, desert meta, forest meta, all that kind of fun.
Or I saw it do with our alteration. You could do it like a keying idea from an MMO where you have to acquire a certain tag. Like once you get gills or water breathing, maybe is the tag, then you can go into the water environments. Although that might not be. Well, there could be multiple ways to get into it because whales don't water breathe. They hold their breath. They hold their breath and they surface for oxygen.
Yeah, but like
we could call it water breathing.
Breath holding is water breathing.
Not really. You're not breathing the water.
It's different than like having gills, sure.
Drank a whole pot of coffee by myself, guys.
We can tell by your typing.
Gotta go real fast.
I don't think we should include biomes or scope
I'm not saying
particular biome.
I'm not saying to include it
now.
Yeah, I'm not saying to include it as a thing. I'm just saying if maybe consider it real quickly here, and you know, if we want to do restrictions and whatnot, maybe we start with a certain area's 9 things.
Yeah, I was also thinking of trying to future-proof a little bit. If it's something we did want to do down the road, then make sure we can kind of scale up to it later, at least, and not kind of shoot ourselves in the foot too.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was bringing it up for. Is it should be a conversation while we're doing this. So, you know, maybe we should stick to like.
So, do we want to scope to like woodland creatures?
Well, I was just going to say land. Period.
Me.
I guess that includes air as well, land and air. Just basically take out water.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. I mean, we can just keep it for now, like at least alpha beta stages, right? I mean,
I know what we should do. Okay, let's get these lists made. Let's throw some more. Keep throwing ideas. Throw some ideas. I'm going to set up 3 polls, and you guys can go vote. And the top 3 in each poll, for each category, will be the 3 that we use. That sound good?
Yeah.
Sure.
Although I think like some need to be auto vetoed, like our apexes, where you will sort of reconverge, need to be like I don't feel like they can be a thing early on.
Do you want to do all the testing with lower level stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let's take out the real top tier stuff off of here then. The links would probably be the top tier that we would go.
Yeah.
Maybe don't delete them from here, but maybe we'll start a new section below. So then at least still have the ideas from chat put in there if we want to use them again later.
Wolf is also Apex. You're absolutely right. Not a thing to start as. However, we're here all the time. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Put Coyote for now.
So let's
yeah.
Sure. I'm down to be a coyote. Let's start small then. Let's think about like what are the smallest, most simple creatures that we could be in these categories.
Eagle is
Well,
absolutely Apex.
Eagle is pretty apex. You got to work your way up there.
No, Eagle's not pretty Apex. Eagle is absolutely Apex. Eagle is the #1 raptor out there. They're the biggest, dangerous, damage. Nope, not quite the fastest.
Not even close to the fastest.
Nope, the golden eagle is fucking fast. When it's coming down
Not
those
even
hills.
close to as fast as a peregrine.
No, the peregrine's the only thing that takes it. And it's actually pretty close. It's not as
No.
far off as you
No,
would
it's
think.
not. It's just not.
Oh, breaking out the Google.
Yep.
I mean, like we'll just start small things. So we'll get chat to suggest some of the low tier, beginner kind of smaller animals, like coyote for wolf is a good example, and some sort of like, I guess, a fairly basic bird that could, if it's going to be a hunter, or I'm trying to think of something that's a solo hunter that can be. We can probably keep owl because we can kind of expand on that later. Maybe that just goes into like some sort of like bird tree.
Yeah, sparrows can totally be in the herbivore tree.
So the golden eagle has a top speed of 320 kilometers per hour, and the peregrine is 3.
Yeah,
That's pretty close.
that's 70 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, but in the scale of
That is
hundreds, that's not
timing.
actually it's percentage. It's not that far off. It's not like twice as fast as it or anything. They're both well above legal speed limits. Oh yeah, of course the peregrine wins, but the golden eagle is still faster than a lot of people realize.
Oh, it is a fast bird. Like I'm not saying it's not a fast bird. It's just not peregrine.
Yeah, no, the peregrines are quick, but they're also not that big. Female golden eagles up to 7 kilograms, 0.3 meter wingspan.
It's a big bird.
Yep, going 200 miles an hour. Yeah, that's an apex. Nothing fucks with that thing. It eats whatever it feels like eating, and that's just how it goes. You don't escape it. If it wants you, you're dead. Most jail time for traffic violations. Might let you off with a warning. Don't ask me how I know.
So, I just had a thought that we may be modeling this all wrong.
Yep, I've had a feeling
Very
that would come
possible.
eventually.
Perhaps we model by general species characteristics.
like family.
Yeah.
I like that as long as we can keep it in simple terms. I don't want to start breaking out like the Latin families.
No
But
Corvus Corex.
I'm good with like dog and like cat and bird
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, no,
grade 5.
I want the average person to come in and not have to have a biology degree to play and understand the game. Definitely. Flappy thing. Then I can choose to be either bird or manta ray.
Seabird.
Majestic sea flaps.
Manta rays are fucking cool.
So let's think of some smaller examples of different families of animal as starters.
If you haven't been to the aquarium here in Yale, they have a big model manta ray there. They have lots of real rays, but they have an actual scale size model up on the wall. They also have sloths. How can you go sloth?
You can touch stingrays at the Vancouver Aquarium too, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
Families, except typing correctly.
Overrated. Just ask board.
We've got canines. We've got
Definitely prefer that.
feline.
Yeah.
If you
got rodents.
canine and feline are probably fine, yeah.
We've got avians. We've got ungulates.
Does anybody know what
I know what an ungulate is. What about chat? I mean, Nariel knows because she suggested it.
think a little more simple termed.
And do we have one? Sure. Effectively the same thing.
Because I don't.
What else do we have?
I don't want to have to explain what an ungulate is to every other. This is a fun panel. Can we do another another 4 hours? I can. Can you?
I think it's the coffee speaking that's going to crash in like an hour.
Yep.
So I think we've got like fairly reasonable families. So what do we think about like defining some starters for each of these families then? Like as a canine, you'd start as a dog.
Yep.
Just
Or
a dog.
coyote. I think a dog can take a coyote. Depending on
It depends on the dog. Like you can go deeper into the dog tree if you want, or you can start branching out into the wild dogs.
Dog's
what do we
fine
consider
now.
a dog? Like knee high?
Just a dog.
Golden retriever.
The standard dog.
It is an dog.
Sounds good. Or a lab. Same idea.
For felines, we start out as what's everybody's favorite house cat?
I think just house cat is fine.
I'm not gonna say like Norwegian forest cat because those things are gorgeous.
Do we want to go that specific? What is fox under? Is it under the feline family? It's in its own family.
I think it's canine, I believe.
Turns out there's a Wikipedia show called Fox Family. Foxes are a small to medium-sized omnivorous mammal belonging to several genera of the family Canidae. Yep.
Nailed it.
Oh, Tanuki.
Starter canine as fox. You know, I do like that. It's a little smaller. It's
I
still very
absolutely love
cute.
it. I love foxes. I want a pet fox. Watched a special about the domestication of them and the changes that they went throughout the domestication process. Interesting. Very interesting. I still think house cat for felines. Everyone knows a
House cat versus like some smaller wildcat.
What about ocelot?
I mean, a house cat is almost a wild cat.
Or just like a Bengal? Because Bengal is kind of just, you know, half cheating.
There are a lot of wild house cats out there that know enough about hunting that should they need to survive half decent.
Oh yeah, for sure. My first cat, Angel, would have had an easy time.
Yeah, cats are
Oh, the
only.
palace cat is so cute.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, that's the South American one. There's also the little desert cat. Hunts little things like little mice and voles and stuff in the desert. Yeah, sand
Yeah,
cats.
sand cat.
You want sand cat? Do sand cat.
I like sand cat. I'm putting sand cat. We can change that later, but I'm putting sand cat.
For anybody who's unfamiliar with the sand cat, they are quite adorable. That face.
So cute.
And you know it can hear you.
It can probably hear me from there.
They've got the distinct stripes on their arms.
Okay, so what do we think about rodents then?
Rat.
Do you want to start super small with like rat or mouse or vole or something like that? Or do we want to
I
go
like vole.
vole
I think just mouse, maybe. Mouse to rat, and then to something.
into like mole?
Oh my god.
Rusty spotted cat.
Oh, those are adorable.
They are.
Mice are definitely omnivorous.
Yeah.
They will eat whatever they can get their hands on.
They are very resourceful. Though field mice are all. I think field mice are. They mostly eat seeds, but yeah, I think they'll eat insect or whatever they come across.
Yeah, they'll eat bugs.
Most animals will eat anything they can put in their mouth. As it turns out, all those assumptions we had about dinosaurs, like, oh yes, this definitely ran around and ate things because it's so big, and then they start researching, and like, huh, turns out it was mostly a scavenger. Big and scary, you show up, I'm here now. Everything runs away. Then you get to eat the food. But you want to talk about kill stealing?
We should have our rodent be hamsters.
There
Yes.
it is, a hamster. I love it. Next step, guinea pig.
Or you can cross class a little bit more, get more omnivorous and go into mice or rats. So birds. How do we want to start birds? Do we want to start with something like a sparrow?
Yeah, I think sparrow was suggested. I think that would work.
It is a
Chickadee.
fairly standard bird.
A raven would definitely be a few steps up on the bird family. That's a big, intelligent bird.
And they're super dope.
Yeah.
I love ravens.
There was
Sparrow?
a raven by my mom's work for a while. Wild one.
So for a hooved animal, do we start as a goat?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Start with a pigeon.
Yeah, pigeon's not bad. The dove family.
Pigeon or sparrow. Sparrows are smaller. It's easier to start with a smaller creature than like justify the stats for becoming a smaller creature.
That's fair.
Yeah, no, we absolutely have to start with the smallest, weakest one. What? I like the chickadee idea because it's smaller than a hummingbird. In some cases, the large hummingbirds could go up to that, and you can't start as a hummingbird because they're too cool. Certain perks, like VTOL.
Chickadee? Then as our starter bird?
Down. And have you seen the picture of the chickadee that hunted the vole? They actually hunt. They'll hunt rodents.
That's kind of terrifying. Do we want to have a differentiation between fish and other aquatic but non-fish things?
I don't think we need to yet. But we can have multiple.
Everything can move up from fish.
It's true.
Fish is
Everything
a
did.
pretty general term.
Right, but then like how deep do we want to go on families, right? Like
Do we want insects as well? Do we want hard-shelled things like beetles and whatnot?
I think it's getting a bit complicated right now.
Spiders? Snakes?
start as a krill.
As a single amoeba, work your way to the top.
What is this? Sudden fucking 4?
Yep, we're spore now.
God damn it.
Um,
That game had a great idea.
oh yeah, fantastic idea, terrible implementation.
Well, the problem is when you try to put every genre of every type of game into one game, you don't get a really deep experience with any of them. You get like a little surface serving of each type of game. It ended up being kind of bland because fish, shark, sperm whale. Narwhal.
That's going on the list.
I absolutely love narwhals. They're hilarious creatures.
Are they pack hunters or solo hunters?
They're pack hunters.
Narwhal. So what do we start as a fish though? Like a trout?
No, that's a big fish.
Anchovy?
Guppy. You're a guppy.
Guppy. You're a guppy.
Goby. Apparently gobies are quite a small reef fish. I typed small reef fish and goby, the name that's popping up a lot.
Guppy fish.
Guppies are pretty tiny.
Also known as the millionfish. I did not know that.
And rainbow fish. One of the world's most widely distributed tropical fish.
Or do we want to just start? The thing with minnow low is that baby fishes are minnows. So
can the anchovy become a pizza?
I do love anchovy.
Yeah. Our GM absolutely did not love anchovy. Y'all knew it, and he was starving, so we sent him a pizza with anchovies on it. And he ate it. He was so hungry, but we could hear him gagging over the mic while we were raiding.
That's a good way. Is it DM like for like D&D?
No.
That's a good way.
GM.
Okay.
In WoW, it was 40-man rating back in the day.
All right. I was gonna say if that's D&D, that's a good way to ensure a party kill.
Yeah.
Goldfish?
Yes. Do it.
Yeah, those are they're carp technically. Those are actually like pretty
Yeah.
big fish.
Well, they can
Not when
get
you keep
big,
it in a
yeah.
bowl.
Well, they'll only
Keep
get
them
as
in
big as
bowls,
their
they
thing,
stay
but
tiny.
goldfish can get pretty big.
I guess that makes sense. You can spend the evolution points, get a little tanky.
Yeah.
Do we want to just call it carp then?
I think goldfish is more telling.
Goldfish is funnier.
It is,
Yeah,
and it gives you
definitely.
that image, right, of the little tiny fish in the bowl.
Goldfish are definitely the water hamster.
Beta fish are badass, though. You have to have, like, kung fu tag.
And you need to have like infinity ferocity.
These are small, worthless fish, not fish that fight for their territory and fend other things off. These are fish that, like... Oh, nothing. Oh, shit, something ate. About their life.
Yep.
I read that as pinata. That was hilarious to me for a couple seconds.
Yes. Yes, the beta fish evolves into a pinata. Explodes at some poor girl.
So now looking at these models, my thought is then, do we look at what you're building out of these models? Like if you go a ferocity route as a fish, do you go to a beta fish?
I think we can, from this point, just... we don't have to have a direct path. We can add in between stages and stuff later on, because you're not limited. You're building your character, and your stats aren't going to get cut off when you change. You just need to meet the minimum requirements. Call yourself that is what we...
Right. But like you're going to have like, oh, I want to be awesome animal number 7. And then you need to figure out what stats you need to get there. And as you go down that path of like, I really want to be a shark, going to be pretty high ferocity, got to be pretty fast.
Yep.
So you're starting to build those 2 stats. And what does your evolutionary path look like to get there? Is what I'm thinking. Like, do we want to have a couple of branches available for each starter for our first chunk of the model?
There's no requirement to have been those, though, either, right?
Yeah, you totally could go from goldfish straight to shark, but you're
Yeah.
going to get
It would be nice to
additional
add.
ability.
It would be nice to add in some in between. I agree, but at this point is where I think we just take inputs from people on what they would like to see, and then if there's major gaps, then we can spend a session taking that information that they've voted on and working it in and filling those gaps and figuring out that once we have that data set. Because that'll
Sure.
fill in a bunch of it for us.
So I have an idea.
Okay.
Instead of polling, we open up a Discord channel
Okay.
available in our Discord.
Okay.
And you can throw your animal ideas in there and what you think their attributes would be. Sort of a little justification of why you want that particular animal in the game. And then we can take a look at those suggestions, maybe next week, maybe the week after, and decide which ones are going to get pulled in and the paths that we want to have people going through them.
Okay. I'm down with this. So this document is available at all times. There's the link that RageBot just pimped for me. Thank you very much. Perfect timing. In here, we do have a final model. These are the stats that are going to define the animals. So like we were talking about, a shark would have a high ferocity, probably a fairly high agility. of a fairly high, moderate to high vitality, because they're quite hardy, most of them. They'll take a beating. But they don't have a ton of endurance, and they're not very smart. So endurance and intelligence wouldn't really be needed, but you'd need a lot of ferocity, agility, and vitality.
So what we can do is we can make that channel and then pin a message, the first message that just says this is the model and here are some examples, and then we can just sample out the current starters and then maybe an example or two of like a near the end apex kind of level.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll do a white shark, because I'm a big white shark fan. Rage can throw a wolf in there. And Pseudo, what do you want to throw in?
I'm not too sure. I think maybe just throwing like a bear or something else, like a subtle hunter.
Cool. Okay. So if you want to throw some animal ideas in for us to take in next week and start working into this, take this final model, and if with these tags you see underneath, if you want to be creative and throw like what you think some cool tags and stuff are, by all means, be as creative as you want. We want to see what you come up with. We'll then use everything in that channel next week, start working these into the model.
So I have created a new category in the Games by Design Discord. It is the bot game by design, and I've created a animal suggestions topic underneath it. If you have any ideas about animals you'd like to see in the game that aren't already in the list, go ahead, put them into that channel. Maybe a little blurb about how you think it'll fit in, and we'll review it at some point in the future.
Sounds exciting. Until then, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It has been an absolute blast. We loved all of your ideas. Totally missed platypus somehow, but I love platypus. Aside from that, again, thank you for joining. I am Deus.
I am Rage.
And I'm Pseudo.
May all your shots be headshots.